The Forgotten Cabin. A group of friends decides to go on a weekend getaway to a remote cabin nestled deep within a dense forest. As they settle in, they begin to experience strange occurrences, unexplained noises, flickering lights, and eerie shadows. As they explore the cabin's history, they discover a terrifying connection to a long-forgotten ritual and an evil entity hell-bent on revenge. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the alerts button to receive every new story.
The sun had begun its slow descent, casting long shadows over the winding forest road as Sarah, Mike, Lisa, and Mark loaded their bags into the old SUV. Excitement danced in their eyes as they embarked on their long-awaited weekend getaway. The group of friends had known each other since college, and this trip was meant to be a celebration of their enduring friendship. "We're going to have an amazing time at the cabin," Sarah exclaimed, her voice filled with anticipation. Mike, the adventurous one of the group, nodded with a grin. "You bet we will. It's the perfect place to escape the city and all its noise." The cabin they were headed to had been a family secret, passed down through Sarah's lineage. It was nestled deep within the heart of a dense forest, far away from civilization. As they drove further away from the city lights, the trees loomed larger and the silence of the wilderness enveloped them. However, amidst their enthusiasm, a subtle sense of unease began to creep into the hearts of the friends. The forest felt different, almost alive with its own secrets. Even the chirping of birds seemed muted, as if the woods held its breath, waiting for something. Lisa, usually bubbly and talkative, glanced around nervously. "Is it just me, or does it feel like we're being watched?" Mark, the level-headed member of the group, chuckled softly. "It's all in your imagination, Lisa. We're just in the middle of nowhere, that's all." Yet, as the miles passed and the dense trees pressed closer, the feeling of unease only intensified. They turned onto a narrow, overgrown path that seemed to lead deeper into the wilderness. The cabin was supposed to be a cozy retreat, but the journey to reach it felt like an ominous adventure into the unknown. Mike tried to lighten the mood by playing some upbeat music, but even the melodies seemed to lose their cheerfulness amidst the encroaching darkness. Shadows danced on the forest floor, and branches reached out like skeletal fingers, welcoming or warning them. They couldn't tell. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the headlights illuminated an old wooden sign. "Welcome to the Forgotten Cabin." The friends exchanged glances, and Sarah's excitement momentarily gave way to a flicker of doubt. "It looks a bit weathered," Lisa commented, peering through the windshield of the cabin cigarette. "It's rustic charm," Sarah said, mustering a smile. "Besides, it's been in my family for generations. We're in for a unique experience." The cabin stood in front of them, its windows dark and its porch sagging with age. They stepped out of the car, and a chilly breeze rustled the leaves above them. Sarah fumbled with the key, and with a creak, the cabin's door swung open. The interior held a nostalgic charm, filled with family heirlooms and worn furniture. As they settled in, Sarah tried to shake off the feeling that they were not alone in the cabin. The unease persisted, and even the warmth of the fireplace couldn't completely dispel the growing sense of foreboding. Little did they know that their decision to visit the isolated cabin would awaken long-forgotten memories and secrets best left undisturbed. As the night approached, the forest outside seemed to hold its breath, waiting to reveal its mysteries to an unsuspecting friend. The real adventure was about to begin. As the night settled in, the cabin's cozy interior provided some comfort to the friends. They gathered around the crackling fireplace, toasting marshmallows and reminiscing about their college days. Despite the unsettling feeling they experienced earlier, they tried to convince themselves that it was all in their imagination. "It's just an old cabin, guys," Mark said, trying to reassure the group. "Old houses make strange noises and the lights probably need some fixing. Nothing to worry about." Lisa nodded, wanting to believe his explanation. "You're right. Let's not let our imagination ruin this trip. We're here to have fun." Sarah chimed in, eager to divert their attention. "Absolutely! Tomorrow, we'll explore the beautiful surroundings and go on some hiking trails. It'll be amazing." They laughed, allowing the mirth to wash away their unease, if only for a moment. Yet as the night wore on, the strange occurrences intensified. The lights flickered more frequently, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Unexplained creaks and thumps echoed through the cabin, as if something unseen was moving in the shadows. Mike, always the skeptic, tried to dismiss the events. "Come on, guys, it's probably just an old house set. And the lights, maybe it's just a faulty electrical system." But deep down, even he found it difficult to ignore the mounting sense of unease. As they settled settled into their respective rooms for the night, sleep eluded them. Each friend tried to convince themselves that there was a logical explanation for everything, yet an unsettling feeling lingered in their hearts. In the middle of the night, Sarah woke up to a soft, whispering sound that seemed to resonate from the walls. She sat up, her heart pounding, trying to discern its source. She glanced at the window, but the moonlight revealed nothing outside. The whispering seemed to grow louder, and she strained to make out the words. They were indecipherable, as if spoken in a forgotten language. In another room, Mike stirred from his sleep, feeling an icy breath on his neck. He sat up, shivering, but there was no one there. He dismissed it as a draft, but the chill lingered, and he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Lisa, in her room, woke up to find her reflection in the mirror, looking back at her with a twisted, malevolent grin. She gasped and blinked repeatedly, but the sinister image persisted for a brief moment before returning to normal. She tried to convince herself it was just a trick of the light, but her unease deepened. As morning approached, the friends gathered in the common area, looking visibly tired and shaken from the restless night. They exchanged uneasy glances, realizing that the strange occurrences couldn't be mere coincidences. "We can't ignore this any longer," Lisa said, her voice trembling. "There's something strange happening here. Maybe this cabin is really haunted." Mark, always the voice of reason, suggested, "Let's not jump to conclusions. We'll investigate further and try to find a rational explanation. It could be faulty wiring after all." But even as he spoke, doubt clouded his own mind. The events of the night had left them all with a lingering fear that they couldn't explain away. As the morning sun bathed the cabin in light, they decided to set out on their hiking adventure as planned, hoping that the distractions of the day would ease their apprehensions. Little did they know that the mysteries of the cabin were far from being resolved. The real horrors were yet to be unveiled, lurking in the shadows of the old and rustic abode. The morning sun filtered through the trees as the group set out to explore the cabin's nooks and crannies, hoping to distract themselves from the unsettling events of the previous night. Sarah, still intrigued by the cabin's history, ventured into the attic, hoping to find some family memorabilia or old photographs. As she rummaged through dusty boxes and forgotten trinkets, her eyes fell upon a weathered leather-bound journal tucked away in a corner. Curiosity piqued, she carefully retrieved it, blowing off a layer of dust that had settled on its cover. "What did you find up there?" Mike called from below. Sarah descended the attic stairs, clutching the journal close to her chest. "It looks like an old journal. It must belong to someone who lived here before." Excited to discover a glimpse into the cabin's past, the group gathered around Sarah as she opened the journal. The pages were yellowed with age and the ink had faded, but the writing was still legible. The journal belonged to a man named Nathaniel Whitmore, who had been the cabin's previous owner. He had lived there with his wife, Amelia, almost a century ago. The entries started out ordinary, detailing their daily life and the joy they found in the secluded cabin. However, as Sarah turned the pages, the tone of the entries became more ominous. Nathaniel wrote about strange occurrences they experienced, flickering lights, unexplained noises, and the feeling of being watched. Amelia had become increasingly fearful, and they both felt a dark presence lurking within the cabin. One particular entry caught their attention. July 15, the whispers grow louder, and I fear the woods hold a malevolent secret. Amelia barely sleeps anymore, and her once bright eyes are now filled with dread. I can't shake the feeling that we are not alone, that an ancient evil watches us from the shadows. The ritual we stumbled upon must have awakened something sinister, something that seeks revenge for past wrongs. I pray we can find a way to break free from its clutches before it's too late. The friends exchanged worried glances, realizing that Nathaniel and Amelia had experienced something similar to what they were going through. The mention of a ritual and an ancient entity seeking revenge sent shivers down their spines. Lisa's voice trembled as she spoke. Could this be the same entity that's haunting us now? Mark furrowed his brow in deep thought. It seems that this entity has been tied to the cabin for a long time. The ritual Nathaniel mentioned might have been performed here, and it could have bound the entity to this place. Mike chimed in. But why would it want revenge? What wrongs could have been committed against it? The journal provided more questions than answers, and the unease in the cabin seemed to grow thicker with every word they read. They decided to continue reading the journal, hoping to find some clue about the ritual or a way to stop the malevolent entity. As they delved deeper into Nathaniel's writings, they discovered hints about a hidden compartment within the cabin, where he believed the answers to their questions might lie. With renewed determination, they resolved to search for the hidden compartment and uncover the cabin secrets, even if it meant facing the dark and Little did they know that their quest for answers would lead them down a perilous path, revealing the true horror lurking within the forgotten cabin. Chapter 4. Unsettling Discoveries. Armed with Nathaniel's journal, the group gathered in the cabin's living room, determined to uncover the truth behind the malevolent entity that now haunted them. As they read further into the journal, they learned about the dark history of the cabin and the ritual that had been performed within its walls. Armed with Nathaniel's journal, the group gathered in the cabin's living room, determined to uncover the truth behind the malevolent entity that now haunted them. As they read further into the journal, they learned about the dark history of the cabin and the ritual that had been performed within its walls. According to Nathaniel's entries, the cabin had once belonged to a reclusive and enigmatic figure named Ezekiel Blackwood, who was rumored to possess a deep knowledge of the occult. Legend had it that Ezekiel had performed a forbidden ritual seeking power and immortality, but instead he unleashed a malevolent entity that had been trapped in the depths of the forest for centuries. The entity, known as the Shadow Seeker, fed on fear and sought revenge for its imprisonment. It tormented Ezekiel and his followers, driving them to madness and ultimately causing their disappearance. The ritual had bound the Shadow Seeker to the cabin, and since then, it had remained trapped within its walls, its malevolence growing stronger over the years. Could Ezekiel's ritual have somehow cursed the cabin itself? Lisa wondered aloud, her voice trembling. It seems that way, Mark replied, deep in thought. The cabin acts as a vessel containing the malevolent entity within its boundaries. Sarah's eyes widened as she read further. Nathaniel and Amelia tried to undo the ritual. They attempted to break the entity's hold on the cabin, but they couldn't find a way to reverse the curse. Mike looked around the cabin uneasily. So, we're dealing with an ancient, vengeful entity that has been trapped here for centuries, and we don't even know how to stop it. As if in response to Mike's question, the atmosphere in the cabin shifted. Eerie shadows seemed to dance across the walls, taking on strange and unsettling shapes. The symbols etched into the walls seemed to writhe and pulse with an otherworldly energy. We need to find a way to break the curse and banish the Shadow Seeker, Lisa said with determination. There must be something in the journal that can help us. They continued reading Nathaniel's entries, hoping to find a clue or a weakness they could explore. The journal contained mentions of ancient tome, the Codex of Shadows, believed to hold the knowledge of the ritual performed by Ezekiel. Nathaniel had hidden the tome within the cabin, hoping to keep it out of the wrong hands. If we can find the Codex of Shadows, we might be able to understand the ritual and figure out a way to counteract it, Sarah suggested. With a newfound sense of purpose, the group began to search the cabin more thoroughly, looking for hidden compartments or clues that might lead them to the ancient tome. The eerie atmosphere seemed to intensify as they explored, as if the Shadow Seeker itself was aware of their quest and sought to deter them. As they moved through the cabin's dimly lit rooms, they couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every creak and groan of the old structure seemed to echo with malevolence, reminding them that they were not alone. The unsettling discoveries continued as they found strange symbols etched not only on the walls, but also on old objects scattered throughout the cabin. Each symbol seemed to radiate an aura of darkness, making the group increasingly apprehensive. Their determination, however, kept them going. They knew they had to press on, for the fate of not only the cabin, but also their own lives depended on it. Little did they know that their search for the Codex of Shadows would lead them down a treacherous path, one that would test their friendships and bravery to the limit. The malevolent entity within the cabin was stirring, and the Shadow Seeker would stop at nothing to ensure its revenge was fulfilled. The sun had long dipped below the horizon, and the cabin was enveloped in darkness as the group continued their search for the elusive Codex of Shadows. The sense of unease that had been haunting them since their arrival had only intensified with the unsettling discoveries they made within the cabin's walls. As they scoured the cabin, the distant howls of wolves echoed through the woods, adding to the eerie atmosphere. The flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows on the walls, and every sound seemed amplified, heightening their senses to the slightest disturbance. I can't shake this feeling that we're being watched, Lisa whispered, glancing over her shoulder. Mark tried to reassure her. It's just our nerves playing tricks on us. Let's keep searching. The Codex might be hidden in the most unlikely place. They split into pairs to cover more ground. Sarah and Mike continued searching the attic while Lisa and Mark explored the cabin's basement. With each step, the darkness seemed to creep closer, and the air felt heavy with anticipation. In the basement, Lisa stumbled upon a hidden panel behind an old bookshelf. Excitedly, she called out to Mark, "I found something!" Together, they opened the concealed compartment and found a dusty, leather-bound book nestled within. As they cautiously opened it, they realized they had indeed discovered the Codex of Shadows. The ancient text was filled with cryptic symbols and arcane diagrams, its pages exuding an aura of ancient power. Just as they were about to call out to Sarah and Mike, a blood-curdling scream pierced the silence, echoing through the woods. Panic engulfed them, and they rushed back to the main living area. "Sarah! Mike!" Lisa cried out, her heart pounding in her chest. They found Sarah and Mike standing at the cabin's entrance, their faces pale with fear. Sarah pointed a trembling finger towards the woods. "I saw something. Something unnatural," Sarah stammered. "It had glowing eyes and moved like a shadow." Mike added, "It felt like it was taunting us, lurking in the darkness just beyond the trees." As they gathered together, their eyes darted nervously towards the surrounding forest, half expecting the entity from the ritual to emerge from the shadows. "We need to stay inside and secure the cabin," Mark said firmly. "The Codex may hold the key to stopping this entity, but we can't risk encountering it directly." They locked all the doors and windows, the candlelight casting eerie shapes on the walls as they huddled together, seeking safety in numbers. With the Codex of Shadows in their possession, they hoped that they could decipher its contents and find a way to counteract the ritual's curse. As they pored over the ancient text, the words revealed the harrowing truth. The ritual performed by Ezekiel Blackwood had indeed unleashed the malevolent Shadow Seeker, and its vengeful intent was to claim the souls of those who resided in the cabin. The ritual had bound the entity to the cabin's walls, making it impossible to escape its reach. Their hearts sank as they realized that the entity was not merely an apparition, but a very real and malevolent force. Their very presence in the cabin had awakened it, and it was now seeking to claim them one by one. "We can't stay here," Lisa said, her voice trembling. "We have to find a way to break the curse and release the Shadow Seeker from its hold on this place." With newfound resolve, they continued their study of the Codex, desperate to find a way to banish the ancient entity once and for all. Unbeknownst to them, the entity was already moving closer, growing stronger with each passing moment. The night was far from over, and their first encounter with the malevolent force was only the beginning of a nightmarish ordeal that would push their courage and friendship to the limits. As the night wore on, the cabin felt like a pressure cooker of fear and suspicion. The encounter with the malevolent entity in the woods had shaken the friends to their core, leaving them on edge and questioning their every move. "What if one of us unknowingly triggered this curse?" Lisa asked, her eyes darting out. "Maybe it's not just the cabin that's cursed, it's us as well." Sarah shook her head, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "We can't start turning on each other. Blaming ourselves won't help either. We need to focus on finding a way to break the curse and rid the cabin of this entity." But tensions were already mounting, and the seed of suspicion had been planted. Each friend couldn't help but wonder if they might be the one responsible for awakening the Shadow Seeker. As they huddled together, studying the Codex of Shadows, their minds played tricks on them, and every sound seemed to carry a sinister meaning. Mike's eyes narrowed as he looked at Mark. "What if this whole trip was your idea from the beginning? Maybe you knew about the curse and wanted to see what would happen." Mark's face flushed with anger. "That's absurd. I had no idea about any curse. This cabin was just supposed to be a fun getaway, nothing more." Sarah tried to mediate, her voice trembling. "Please, let's not turn on each other. We need to stick together and find a way to stop this entity before it's too late." But the unease continued to grow, and the atmosphere inside the cabin became tense and stifling. With every creak and groan of the old structure, suspicions deepened. Each friend wondered if the other might be hiding something, if they were somehow connected to the ancient ritual that had cursed the cabin. Lisa's gaze fell on the symbols etched into the walls, and a thought struck her. What if one of us is unknowingly marked by the ritual? What if that's why the entity is targeting us? The friends looked at each other, uncertain if any of them bore a hidden connection to the cursed ritual. The idea was terrifying, but it seemed like the only explanation that made sense like the only explanation. They began to scrutinize each other's behaviors and actions, searching for any sign that might indicate a connection to the malevolent entity. As the hours passed, the tension escalated, and even the most innocent gestures were met with suspicion. The once tight-knit group felt like strangers, their trust eroded by the growing fear and uncertainty. Amidst the accusations, Sarah made a discovery while reading the Codex of Shadows. "I think I found something. The ritual requires a sacrifice to bind the entity to the cabin. It needs a soul to feed upon to sustain its power." The friends looked at each other, aghast at the revelation. They had unwittingly stumbled into a dark ritual curse and stop the entity before it claims another soul, Mark said firmly, trying to dispel the rising tensions. Blaming each other won't help. We need to work together, trust each other. But the damage had been done and the seeds of doubt had taken root. The nightmarish situation had brought out the worst in them, and now they had to find a way to overcome not only the malevolent entity, but also the distrust and fear that threatened to tear their friendship apart. In the midst of their own internal turmoil, they had almost forgotten the lurking presence of the Shadow Seeker. As the night pressed on, the entity's sinister intentions drew closer, and they would soon face a harrowing confrontation that would test not only their friendship, but also their will to survive. The entity was relentless, and their unity would be their only chance of breaking the curse and freeing themselves from the malevolent force that sought to claim them all. With tension still high and the threat of the malevolent entity looming, the group knew they needed external help to break the curse that had befallen the cabin. They decided to seek out a local historian or an expert in folklore who might possess knowledge about the ritual and its origins. Leaving the safety of the cabin, they ventured into the nearby town, their hearts heavy with the weight of their predicament. The townspeople spoke in hushed tones about the cabin, warning the group to stay away. But the friends knew they had no choice but to confront the dark secrets hidden within its walls. In the heart of the town, they stumbled upon an old, dusty bookstore run by an elderly man named Mr. Whitaker. The store's musty smell and ancient tomes lining the shelves hinted at a wealth of knowledge about the town's history and folklore. "Excuse me," Sarah said timidly as they approached the counter. "We're looking for someone who might know about the history of the cabin located in the woods nearby." Mr. Whitaker peered at them through his thick glasses, curiosity gleaming in his eyes. "Ah, you must be talking about the Forgotten Cabin. It has quite a history, you know." The friends exchanged glances, realizing that Mr. Whitaker might hold the key to the information they desperately needed. They explained the strange occurrences they had experienced and their discovery of the Codex of Shadows. Mr. Whitaker's eyes widened with concern. "It seems you've stumbled upon something dangerous. The cabin's history goes back centuries, and it's tied to an ancient ritual gone awry." Desperate for answers, they asked, "Do you know anything about this ritual? How can we break the curse and stop the malevolent entity from haunting us?" The old man's expression grew serious. "Breaking a curse is no easy task. You'll need to perform a counter-ritual to undo the binding, but it won't be without risks." He explained that the ritual performed by Ezekiel Blackwood had entwined the entity's essence with the cabin, creating an unbreakable bond. The only way to sever this connection was to find the entity's true name, a secret known only to the ancient cultists who had summoned it. "But be warned," Mr. Whitaker cautioned. "Seeking out the entity's true name is a perilous endeavor. The malevolent force will do everything in its power to stop it. You'll need to face your deepest fears and prove your courage and determination." The friends knew they had no other choice. Armed with this newfound knowledge, they returned to the cabin with a renewed sense of purpose. They pored over the Codex of Shadows, hoping to find any clue that might lead them to the entity's true name. The night wore on, and the shadows seemed to press closer, their malevolence almost palpable. But the friends pressed on, fueled by their determination to break the curse and reclaim their safety. As they studied the Codex, they discovered a hidden passage that hinted at a hidden chamber beneath the cabin. Suspecting it might hold the key to the entity's name, they decided to explore it. With trepidation, they descended into the hidden chamber, a place long forgotten by time. Within its dark confines, they found ancient engravings that spoke of the entity's name, locked away in a puzzle of symbols and riddle. As they unraveled the secrets of the chamber, their bond as friends grew stronger. They faced their deepest fears, confronted their doubts, and stood united against the malevolent force that sought to tear them apart. With the entity's name finally revealed, they prepared for the final confrontation. Armed with knowledge, bravery, and the strength of their friendship, they readied themselves to perform the dangerous counter ritual and break the curse that had held the forgotten cabin in its grasp for centuries. The night grew darker, and the cabin's walls seemed to pulse with the entity's anger. But the friends were resolute, prepared to face whatever horrors awaited them. They knew that only by standing together and confronting the malevolent entity head-on could they hope to emerge victorious and put an end to the haunting that had plagued the cabin for far too long. The time for reckoning had come, and the real battle against the ancient evil was about to begin. The friends had stepped into a realm of darkness and malevolence, but they were not alone. United in their purpose, they stood as a beacon of hope against the malevolent entity that had tormented them. The The night was far from over, and their fate hung in the balance as they prepared for the ultimate confrontation that would determine whether they could break the curse and finally free the forgotten cabin from its haunted past. As the group prepared to perform the dangerous counter-ritual, the malevolent entity sensed their intentions and grew more powerful. The cabin seemed to pulsate with an eerie energy, and the air was thick with dread. The entity, now fully awakened, began to manifest itself in various forms, preying on the friends' deepest fears and weaknesses. In the dim candlelight, they felt the presence of something watching them from the shadows. It whispered their names in haunting voices, seeking to sow doubt and fear among them. Sarah's heart raced as she saw the entity take the form of her deceased mother, her face twisted with anger. "You were never good enough, Sarah," the apparition hissed, tormenting her with memories of past insecurities. Mike, the adventurer, was confronted by a dark manifestation of a forest, the trees reaching out to ensnare him as if it sought to trap him in the very environment he loved. Lisa was haunted by the specter of her childhood bully, his cruel laughter echoing in her ears, reopening old wounds she had long tried to forget. Mark, the level-headed and rational one, saw the entity take the form of a demonic version of himself, mocking his ability to protect the group. As the entity played on their fears and insecurities, the group's unity began to falter. The doubts that had been planted earlier now grew into suspicion and blame, threatening to tear them apart. "We can't let this entity divide us," Sarah said, clutching the Codex of Shadows tightly. "We need to stand strong together and continue with the counter-ritual." But fear had taken hold, and the entity's relentless torment seemed to chip away at their resolve. Each friend questioned whether they were truly capable of facing the malevolent force and breaking the curse. As they struggled to confront the entity's manifestations, they realized that the counter-ritual demanded not only knowledge, but also strength of spirit. They needed to face their deepest fears head-on and find the courage to challenge the enemy's power. "We have to believe in ourselves and in each other," Mark said firmly, trying to rally them. "Our friendship is our greatest strength. We can overcome this entity together." With renewed determination, they began the counter-ritual. The ancient words from the Codex of Shadows echoed through the cabin as they attempted to banish the malevolent entity. But the entity fought back, its dark presence intensifying, as if it drew strength from their efforts to break free from its grasp. The cabin's walls seemed to close in on them, and the atmosphere grew suffocating. The entity's twisted laughter echoed through the air, causing chills to run down their spine. But they didn't give in to despair. They held fast to each other, using their friendship as a shield against the malevolence that threatened to consume them. As the counter-ritual reached its climax, the cabin shook violently, and the entity's manifestations became more grotesque and menacing. It was as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling around them. Yet, in the face of the entity's malevolence, the friends found strength in their unity. They confronted their fears and weaknesses, determined not to be controlled by the entity's power. With a final surge of resolve, they completed the counter-ritual, chanting the ancient words with unwavering determination. The cabin seemed to hold its breath, and for a moment, everything was still. Then, as if released from an invisible grip, the entity's manifestations dissipated, and a profound silence settled over the cabin. The malevolent force had been weakened, and the friends had succeeded in breaking the curse. Exhausted but triumphant, they looked at each other with a newfound sense of solidarity. The ordeal had tested their friendship to its limits, but it had also forged an unbreakable bond. However, their victory was not without consequences. The entity, though weakened, was not fully banished. It still lurked in the shadows, vowing revenge for its temporary defeat. With the night still young, the friends knew they had to remain vigilant. The battle against the malevolent entity was far from over, and they had to be prepared for whatever horrors awaited them in the dark corners of the forgotten cabin. As they braced themselves for the next encounter, they understood that their unity and strength of spirit were their best weapons against the entity's malevolence. The shadows might still hold many secrets and nightmares, but the friends were determined to face them together, ready to confront the ancient evil that had plagued the cabin for centuries. The night was far from over, and their courage would be tested once again in the ongoing battle against the entity's relentless thirst for revenge. With the malevolent entity still lingering, the friends knew that they had to confront it head-on and banish it from the cabin once and for all. The battle against the ancient evil would not only demand their courage and unity, but also require them to face their own personal demons. As As they gathered around a circle in the cabin, the Codex of Shadows opened before them. They held hands and shared a moment of silent determination. Each friend steeled themselves, knowing that the entity would try to exploit their fears and weaknesses. "We've faced horrors and uncertainties together, and we've come this far," Lisa said, her voice unwavering. "Now, we need to stand united and face the entity as one." Sarah added, "We know that the entity preys on our deepest fears. We have to find strength in each other and face our demons together." With that resolve in their hearts, they began the counter ritual. The ancient words flowed from their lips, and the air around them crackled with energy. The cabin's atmosphere shifted, and the entity's presence grew more oppressive. In response to the counter ritual, the entity manifested itself once again, taking grotesque forms and taunting the friends with their worst nightmares. But this time, they were prepared. They didn't let fear paralyze them. Instead, they confronted their personal demons and refused to be controlled by the entity's malevolence. As the counter ritual intensified, the friends chanted louder, the power of their unity growing stronger. The ancient symbols and incantations from the Codex of Shadows glowed with an ethereal light, pushing back against the malevolent force. Yet, the entity fought back with a ferocity they had not encountered before. Its manifestations became more aggressive, and the friends had to dig deeper to find the strength to resist its influence. Mark faced the demonic version of himself, refusing to be intimidated by the entity's mockery. He reminded himself of his resourcefulness and determination, countering the entity's taunts with self-assurance. Sarah confronted the apparition of her mother, not allowing guilt to consume her. She summoned memories of her mother's love and support, using them as a shield against the malevolence. Mike pushed back against the forest of fear, embracing his adventurer's spirit. He visualized himself conquering treacherous terrains, determined not to let the entity prey on his passion. Lisa stood strong against the tormenting figure of her childhood. She refused to let past insecurities define her and found strength in her growth and resilience. As they battled the entity's manifestations, the cabin's walls trembled and the very ground seemed to shake beneath them. The entity's power was immense, but the friends' unity and determination were equally formidable. In the midst of the struggle, they realized that the counter ritual was not merely about reciting incantations from the Codex of Shadows. It was also about confronting their own vulnerabilities and finding strength in the support they provided to one another. Drawing on the bond they had forged through their shared experiences, they poured their emotions and determination into the counter ritual. Their voices blended into a powerful harmony, and the cabin filled with a brilliant light that engulfed the entity. The malevolent force shrieked in agony as the light pushed it back, gradually banishing it from the cabin. The ancient entity's presence diminished, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. Exhausted but victorious, the friends collapsed to the ground, the Codex of Shadows closing as the counter ritual concluded. They knew that they had not only confronted the malevolent entity, but also faced their own inner demons, emerging stronger and more united than ever. The cabin now felt different, purged of the malevolence that had plagued it for centuries. The shadows held no more secrets or nightmares, and the air was filled with a newfound sense of peace. The friends knew that their battle might not be over entirely. The malevolent entity might still linger, seeking another opportunity for revenge. But they also understood that they had the power of unity and the strength to face whatever darkness the future would hold. As they walked out of the cabin, they did so with a sense of accomplishment. They had confronted an ancient evil and survived. Their friendship had been tested and had emerged stronger. The forgotten cabin was no longer forgotten. It would now be remembered as the place where they had faced their greatest fears and emerged victorious. As they made their way back to the town, they knew that they would carry the memories of this night forever. The cabin might still be haunted, but it was no longer a place of dread. It had become a testament to their courage and friendship, a place where they had confronted darkness and emerged stronger than ever before. The friends vowed to remain vigilant, knowing that the malevolent entity might still be out there, seeking revenge. But they also knew that as long as they stood together, they could face any challenge that came their way. And so, the friends left the forgotten cabin behind, forever bound by the memories of their harrowing day. As they journeyed into the future, they carried with them the knowledge that no matter what darkness lay ahead, they had each other, a bond that would endure even the most malevolent of entity. The night was over, but their story had only just begun. With the malevolent entity banished from the cabin, the friends felt a momentary relief, but they knew that their battle was far from over. The entity, weakened but still determined to seek revenge, would not rest until it had its way. As they gathered outside the cabin, their eyes met with a shared understanding. They had faced terrifying manifestations of the entity and survived, but now they had to confront it in its true form. The final showdown was imminent, and they braced themselves for the ultimate test of their courage and unity. "We can't let this entity control us any longer," Sarah said, her voice firm. "We have to end this once and for all." The friends knew that they might be required to make sacrifices in order to defeat the entity. Their determination was matched only by the gravity of the situation they faced. Mark added, "We have the Codex of Shadows, and we know the entity's name. That gives us an advantage, but we must be prepared for anything." With the ancient book in hand, they re-entered the cabin, ready to confront the entity in its true form. The air inside the cabin was thick with tension, and the shadows seemed to writhe with malevolence. As they reached the heart of the cabin, a chilling silence fell upon them. The entity materialized before them, its form shifting between darkness and light, a grotesque amalgamation of all their fears and nightmares. "I will not be banished so easily," the entity hissed, its voice echoing in their minds. Lisa took a step forward, her voice steady. "You may have tormented us, but we are not afraid anymore. We know your name, and we will not let you control us." The entity laughed, the sound grating and malevolent. "You think you can defeat me? I have fed on the fear of countless souls, and your courage means nothing to me." The friends stood their ground, their eyes locked with the entity's swirling, malevolent gaze. With each breath, they drew strength from their friendship and unity, refusing to be consumed by fear. "We will not let you harm anyone else," Mike declared, his voice unwavering. "Your reign of terror ends now." With that, they began the final counter-ritual, chanting the entity's name with a determination that could not be shaken. The ancient words from the Codex of Shadows reverberated through the cabin, and the air crackled with power. The entity fought back with every ounce of its strength, summoning dark energies to counteract the counter-ritual. The cabin trembled, and the friends struggled to hold their ground. As the battle intensified, they realized that the entity's defeat would come at a cost. Sacrifices might be required to break its hold on the cabin once and for all, but they were resolute. They would face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that their friendship was worth any sacrifice. As the counter-ritual reached its peak, the entity's form seemed to waver, its power weakening. But it wasn't going down without a fight. In a desperate last attempt, the entity lashed out, targeting one of the friends. Mark stepped forward, ready to shield his friends from harm. "No, it can't be you," Sarah cried out, her heart breaking at the thought of losing both of them. Mark looked at his friends with a reassuring smile. "We knew from the beginning that this might require sacrifices. I'm ready to do whatever it takes to end this." With that, Mark confronted the entity, facing it with unwavering courage. He refused to be controlled by fear, knowing that his friends needed him to be strong. As he stood against the entity, his friends continued the counter, ritual with even greater determination. They chanted louder, pouring their emotions and love into the ancient words. The entity's form flickered, its power waning with each passing moment. Mark's sacrifice had weakened it significantly. With one final surge of strength, the friends unleashed the full force of the counter-ritual, channeling all their courage and unity into the ancient words. The cabin erupted in blinding light as the entity let out a deafening shriek. It seemed to be torn apart, disintegrating into nothingness. As the light subsided, the cabin fell silent once more. The malevolent entity had been vanquished, and the air felt clear and pure. But their victory came at a heavy cost. Mark had paid the ultimate price to protect his friends and defeat the entity. With tears in their eyes, the friends gathered around their fallen comrade, grateful for his bravery and sacrifice. Mark had shown them the true meaning of friendship and selflessness. Though they were heartbroken, they knew that their battle was not in vain. They had faced an ancient evil and emerged victorious, their bond stronger than ever before. As they left the cabin, they carried Mark's memory in their hearts, vowing to live their lives to the fullest in honor of their fallen friend. The night was over, and the forgotten cabin was no longer haunted by darkness. Instead, it would be remembered as the place where the friends had confronted their deepest fears, faced an ancient evil, and emerged as a testament to the power of unity and courage. Their journey had been one of terror, sacrifice, and triumph. The friends would forever carry the memories of this harrowing ordeal, knowing that they had faced the worst the darkness had to offer, and had come out on the other side stronger and more united than ever. The forgotten cabin might have been a place of nightmares, but it was also where the strength of their friendship had shone brightest. The scars of their battle would heal with time, but the memories of their shared courage and love would remain etched in their hearts forever. And so, as they walked away from the cabin, they did so with a mix of sadness and gratitude, knowing that they had faced the ultimate test of their friendship and had emerged as a bond that could never be broken. The morning sun began to rise as the friends emerged from the now desolate cabin. The entity had been vanquished, but the victory had come at a steep cost. The forgotten cabin stood in ruins, a solemn reminder of the horrors they had faced within its wall. They stood together, gazing at the wreckage, their hearts heavy with grief for their fallen friend and the destruction caused by the malevolent entity. The cabin, once a symbol of mystery and adventure, now lay in shambles, its dark secrets exposed. "I can't believe it's over," Lisa whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "But at what cost?" Mike placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Mark gave his life to protect us, to end this nightmare. We can never forget his sacrifice." Sarah nodded, her voice trembling. "We'll carry his memory with us forever. He'll always be a part of our lives." As they surveyed the wreckage, they also saw the Codex of Shadows lying among the debris. The ancient book had been instrumental in their victory, but it had also been the source of their harrowing ordeal. "We should destroy it," Mike suggested, a steely determination in his eyes. "The Codex is too dangerous to be left in anyone's hands." Together, they gathered the pages of the Codex and set them ablaze, watching as the ancient text turned to ash. With the book destroyed, they hoped that the malevolent rituals within it would never be performed again. As the flames danced before them, they realized that they had one final task to complete: to bid farewell to the cabin and the harrowing experience they had shared within its walls. They stood in a circle, hand in hand, and shared their memories of the journey they'd embarked upon. They spoke of the terror they had faced, the courage they had mustered, and the bond that had held them together through it all. "We may have come to this cabin as friends, but we leave as something more," Sarah said, her voice choked with emotion. "We leave as a family, forever bound by the trials we faced together." They knew that the experience had forever changed them. They had confronted darkness and survived, emerging stronger and more united than ever before. As the sun bathed the cabin in a soft morning glow, they said their final goodbyes to the place that had been the backdrop of their nightmares and victories. The forgotten cabin would always hold a special place in their hearts, a reminder of the resilience of their friendship. "We'll never forget what we've been through here," Lisa said, tears still streaming down her cheeks. "But now it's time to move forward, to honor Mark's memory by living our lives to the fullest." They embraced one another, cherishing the connection that had grown even stronger through the trials they'd faced. They knew that they would always be there for each other, no matter where life took them. With heavy hearts, they turned away from the ruins of the cabin and started their journey back to the town. The chapter of the forgotten cabin had come to an end, but the story of their friendship continued. As they walked side by side, they felt a mix of sadness and gratitude. The haunting experience had left scars, but it had also shown them the strength they possessed as a group. Their lives had been forever changed by the night they spent in the cabin, but they were determined to carry its lessons with them, to cherish their friendships, to face their fears with courage, and to never take their time together for granted. The journey back to the town was bittersweet, as they knew that they would soon part ways, each returning to their own lives and pursuits. But they also knew that the bond they had forged in the forgotten cabin would endure, and the memories of their harrowing experience would forever be etched in their hearts. As they said their final goodbyes at the edge of the town, they embraced once more, knowing that they had emerged victorious in the face of darkness. The forgotten cabin might be in ruins, but their friendship had never been stronger. And so, with a shared sense of closure and departure, they went their separate ways, forever changed by the night they spent in the cabin. They carried the lessons and the memories of that fateful journey with them, ready to face whatever challenges life had in store, knowing that they had the unwavering support and love of their friends. The chapter of the forgotten cabin had come to an end, but their story continued, and the bond they had forged would always be their guiding light in the darkest of times. Some time had passed since the friends' harrowing ordeal at the forgotten cabin. Each of them had returned to their respective lives, forever changed by the experience they had shared. But the bond they had forged through that night was unbreakable, and they found themselves drawn together once again. As the seasons changed, they decided to reunite at a peaceful spot by a serene lake, far from the shadows of the past. The scars of their ordeal had healed, but the memories were still fresh in their minds. Under the shade of a grand oak tree, they sat in a circle, the water gently lapping against the shore behind them. The lake sparkled with the sun's reflection, a stark contrast to the darkness they had faced at the cabin. "We've been through so much together," Sarah said, her voice soft yet resolute. "I never thought a weekend getaway would change our lives forever." Lisa nodded, her eyes shining with determination. "But it has made us stronger, hasn't it? We faced an ancient evil and came out on the other side as a family." Mike gazed at the tranquil lake, a wistful smile on his face. "Mark would have been proud of us. He gave everything to protect us that night." "He will always be with us," Mark added, his voice filled with emotion. "We carry his memory in our hearts, a constant reminder of the strength of our friendship." As they reflected on their shared ordeal, they realized that the cabin and the evil they encountered had become a part of their story. They could never forget the darkness they had faced, nor could they forget the courage and love they had found in each other. "We've learned that life is precious," Sarah said. "We should cherish every moment, savor every experience, and be grateful for the people we have by our side." "We faced our deepest fears together," Lisa added, "and that's what makes our bond so special. We'll always be there for each other, no matter what challenges come our way." Mike nodded in agreement. "The cabin may be in ruins, but its legacy lives on in us. It taught us the true value of friendship and the strength we have when we stand united." As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, they made a vow to never forget the forgotten cabin and the night that changed their lives. It would forever be a part of their story, a chapter that shaped them into the people they had become. "We'll always remember that night," Mark said, his voice filled with gratitude. "It showed us the power of courage, love, and unity, and it taught us to cherish every moment we have with each other." As they stood together, their hands interlocked, they knew that their journey had only just begun. The cabin might be in ruins, but its impact on their lives was immeasurable. They made a promise to meet again, to continue creating new memories and facing life's challenges together. The lake and the oak tree would become their sacred place, a reminder of their shared strength and resilience. And so, as the sun dipped below the horizon, they bid farewell to the lake and each other, knowing that they were forever bound by the unforgettable night they spent at the forgotten cabin. Their story would continue, filled with laughter, love, and the unbreakable bond they had forged. The cabin and the malevolent entity might be in the past, but their friendship was their guiding light, illuminating their path through whatever darkness the future might hold. As they parted ways, they carried with them the lessons they had learned and the memories they had created. The night they spent at the cabin had been a journey of terror and triumph, and it had shown them the true meaning of friendship and the strength they possessed as a group. And so, their story continued, forever intertwined by the shared ordeal at the forgotten cabin. They would cherish their friendship and the memories of that night, knowing that they had faced the darkest of shadows and emerged as a beacon of light, illuminating their way through life's journey.